Hi, this is Sudeep. Can you hear me, please? I'm having terrible difficulty. Actually, it's showing me out of the
We can hear
frame.
you, sir.
Okay, thank you. So, uh, I don't know. I'm logging on and it's just showing me out again and again. So I'm just logged on possibly 6 or 7 times now. Let me see.
Dear all, we welcome you to this webinar on construction and related engineering services. The line ministry speaker for this session is Mr. Amrit Abhijar, Joint Secretary, Ministry of Housing. The moderator for this session is Mr. Sriram Iyer. We now request Mr. Amrit Abhijar to start the session by setting the tone for it. Amrit sir, you are still muted. Can you please unmute?
Sir, he joined shortly.
Sir. We request the participants, except the speakers, to keep their cameras off and their mics muted. The webinar will be a moderated panel discussion that will last for about 2 hours and delve deep into issues related to quality of product and productivity of units and services in the sector. Towards the end, we will throw open the discussion to the participants and take their questions. We have 7 speakers on the panel today. Mr. Anupam Shah, Mr. Pankaj Dharkar, Mr. Ashutosh Chandawar, Mr. Sandeep Goyal, Mr. Surajit Pan, Ms. Dr. Indrajit Bhattacharya, and Mr. Sujit Mazumdar. The moderator for today's session, Mr. Sriram Iyer, is a chemical engineer and MBA with 2 decades of experience in hydrocarbon industry projects. In a career spanning over 2 decades, he has held leadership positions in business development, engineering, project controls, and digitalization at L&T Hydrocarbon Engineering. Hailing from a family of educators, Mr. Sriram is passionate about teaching and mentoring and has contributed as a technical expert and training content creator for sections of the Indian Infrastructure Book of Knowledge developed under the aegis of NITI Aayog and QCI.
Thank you, Ridhima. Ridhima, should we wait for the Honorable Joint Secretary to join us before we start the discussions?
Yes, sir. We are waiting for the Honorable Joint Secretary, Sri Abhijit, to join us. Checking with Honorable Amrit Abhijit Sir's office if he is available now. So, Sri Amrit, Sri Ram sir, Sri Amrit sir seems to be unavailable. Could you please start setting the tone for the session?
Fantastic. Am I audible to everyone?
Yes, sir.
So, good afternoon to a very, very esteemed panel of speakers that I have the honor and privilege of being moderator to. Good afternoon to QCI, the organizers, uh, and the very. There is some noise coming from the other side. Is that audible to all? Are you
Very
able
clear
to
and
hear
audible
me
to all.
clearly?
Yes,
Okay,
sir.
there's no echo, right?
So,
Okay. So the Udyog Manthan series, as I understand it, is a series which is aimed at aligning all the ministry level work that is done, the various departments and the various sectors towards the theme of quality and productivity in their particular sectors. If you see the statistics that have been compiled not just in India but globally, our industry, which is basically the E&C or the construction industry, which spans maybe your infrastructure sectors, your hydrocarbon sectors, and other sectors, continues to lag all other industries in terms of productivity. And there are several challenges, and a lot of speakers today will speak about those challenges and what we are going to be doing to mitigate these, particularly in the context of India and Indian policy. Because I think today, the way things are poised in terms of our demographic advantage as a country, stable leadership over the last few years, and the global turmoil and India's response to the global turmoil as has been acknowledged by the world, I think we're at an influx point where India can potentially leapfrog the many years that we have lagged behind and go ahead and even be a shining beacon for others in industry. Without further ado, I'll quickly introduce my fellow panelists on this particular talk. In case the Joint Secretary does join us at some point in time, we'll probably pause in between two panel speakers and hear out the Honorable Joint Secretary. I'm honored to be joined by Mr. Indrajit Bhattacharya, who is the Director of NABET. He is there along with Mr. Anupam Shah, who is the ex-chairman of EPC. And also on the panel, we have Mr. Ashutosh Chandwar, who is the CEO of DRAIPL. Mr. Surajit Pan heads the Building Infrastructure South Asia for Bureau Veritas. We have a gentleman who's renowned in the buildings and construction space, Mr. Pankaj Tharkar, who's partner at Pankaj Tharkar and Associates. Joining him would be Mr. Sandeep Goel, who is the director at Pro Iron Consultants Private Limited, New Delhi. And rounding up with the last speech among the speakers before we open to Q&A, we have a good friend and old colleague of mine, Mr. Sudeep Majumdar, who is now the Global Chief Digital and Information Officer at Piramal Glass Limited. We will start with maybe about 7 to 10 minutes by each of the panel speakers on various themes related to quality and productivity in the engineering and construction sector. So these speakers will speak upon their experience and the perspectives related to the theme that they're speaking on. And then at the end of it, we will have questions based on what we have spoken, based on questions that you will, the participants in today's chat would have written in the chat window of the WebEx window that you have out here. And we will take these questions till the conclusion of the program. I'm honored today to begin with a very eminent entrepreneur and industry leader, Mr. Anupam Shah, the ex-chairman of EEPC. He has been the national chairman of EEPC India, which is formerly the Engineering Export Promotional Council of India, India's largest export promotion council, and a trade and investment promotion organization sponsored by the India's Ministry of Commerce and Industry. He is currently director of NIPA Exports Private Limited and also partner of NIPA Enterprises. During his tenure, EPC India was the lead agency for the Hanover Messe 2015, which is the world's largest engineering exhibition in the world. India was the partner country there. And this exhibition was then inaugurated by our Honorable Prime Minister, Shri Narendra Modi, along with Angela Merkel, the Chancellor of Germany. Anupamji, over to you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Iyer. Good afternoon, friends. I would like to congratulate the Quality Council of India, DPIIT, for organizing this Udyog Manthan webinar series. This webinar series is of extreme importance in the current situation when industry is going through significant economic challenges due to the pandemic. While disruption of major global supply chains have been a cause of concern, it has also created new export opportunities for countries such as India. Compliances to global standards and regulations, along with capacity creation and skilling our workforce, would be the key for Indian exporters to leverage this opportunity. Hence, this seminar series is of prime importance and very timely. Friends, since most of the panelists are from the construction sector, I will just touch on a few points and move on to engineering aspect of it. Construction sector is a major contributor in India's overall economic growth. After manufacturing, construction is the second highest contributor to industrial growth. Construction sector is the third largest employer after agriculture and manufacturing, employs approximately 50 million people. The growth drivers behind this sector are increased real estate demand, fueled by rapid urbanization, growing infrastructural needs, and rising private and public investment. During the virtual investment roundtable, our Honorable PM pledged to invest $1.5 trillion under the National Infrastructure Pipeline, and this is expected to become one of the key impetus for the construction industry in India. This budgetary allocation to infrastructure sector, smart cities mission, building of industrial corridors, railway lines, megaports is the need of the hour to improve connectivity and reduce transportation and transaction cost. Friends, power generation, transmission, and distribution is integral to the growth of this sector. In power generation equipment, we can gauge India's performance as India exported and its export grew by a CAGR of 17.9% between 2015 and 19. And in 2019, it stood at $2.96 billion, with US as the largest destination at 24.2% share, followed by Bangladesh at 7.4% and Germany at 6.9%. India's import of power generation equipment grew by 2.9% between the same period and stood at 2.2 billion in 2019. China was the largest exporter to India with a share of 33.1%, followed by US at 10% and Japan at 9%. In the power transmission and distribution sector, India's export grew by a CAGR of 6.2% between 2015-19, and in 2019, exports stood at $3.2 billion, again with US as the largest destination at 12.6% share, followed by Nigeria at 6.3% and Bangladesh at 5.6%. India's imports of power generation equipment grew by 11.7% between this period and stood at 3.7 billion in 2019. China was the largest exporter to India, followed by Hong Kong at 9% and Germany at 7.7%. In the power generation equipment and transmission and distribution, India had a marginal surplus trade. Friends, now as we come to the construction engineering sector, it has maintained a positive trade balance since 2014. Between 2014 and 18, both exports and imports increased around 7 to 8%. While this is a positive news, financing of project export is a cause of concern as credit risk profiles of many large diversified engineering procurement and construction contractors in India remain largely constrained due to the after effects of the aggressive bidding in the past. Furthermore, many construction service exporters mention the difficulties to meet the stipulated local content requirement for accessing the lines of credit facilities. Friends, coming to the construction machinery sector, between 2015-19, exports grew by a CAGR of 7.2% and imports registered a CAGR of 8.3%. In 2019, construction machinery exports stood at $1.18 billion. Nepal was the largest importer with a share of 14.7%, followed by Bangladesh at 6.4% and US at 6.2%. Construction machinery imports stood at $2 billion in 2019. China remained the largest exporter to India with a market share of 35.8% in 2019, followed by Japan and Germany. Between 2015 and 19, India's trade deficit in construction machinery has only widened. Lack of high-grade technology and high value chain products in the construction machinery sector is the key reason behind the continued trade deficit in this sector. If you look at parts and ancillary products for construction machinery, exports from India grew by a CAGR of 12.8% between 2015 to 2019. In 2019, the exports stood at 1.42 billion US dollars, with developed countries as the preferred destination. US was the largest importer with a share of 21%, followed by UK and Germany. Again, on imports of parts and ancillary products for this sector, it grew by 8.1% between 2015 and 19. In 2019, Indian imports stood at $2.26 billion. China again had the lion's share at 34.15%, followed by South Korea and Germany. Between 2015 and 19, India's trade deficit in parts and ancillary products has remained constant. Lack of economies of scale, availability of steel, especially special steels, dumping by countries like China is a key reason behind the continuing trade deficit in this segment. Friends, now I will just take a few minutes from you for some of the recommendations that we have. First and foremost, like all other machineries, most of India's construction machinery exports are majorly in the low technology and low value added segment. Moreover, the industry standards are mainly aligned to ISO, which does not have a significant global acceptability. Furthermore, the big players in India's construction machinery industry mainly target the South Asian and domestic market, which have a low lenient quality standard requirement. As emission and safety standards in the major developed countries are stricter, exporting to Europe and North America involves high compliance costs, which many Indian players are reluctant to bear. To address this issue, in a recent budget proposal to the government, the construction equipment industry in India has requested for a joint industry-government task force to develop a 5 to 10 years strategy for exploring global best practices and developing a quality and technology roadmap for this sector. The government can also assist the industry by forging mutual recognition agreement with target destinations. Also, development of adequate and affordable testing and certification infrastructure is most critical. The overall compliance environment in the domestic markets need to be improved through awareness, training, programs regarding international quality and standard requirements. Then only, friends, we can be a major exporter to the world. Friends, 60% of engineering exports are contributed by MSMEs in India. Easier access to finance is a must for upgrading of manufacturing facility, selective automation, capacity enhancement, and adoption of best global practices. In these lines, the engineering sector has proposed creation of the infrastructure-focused bank to fund projects and improve access to low-cost funding. Additionally, they proposed introducing production-linked investment scheme in construction machinery industry to make India a manufacturing and export hub and promote Atmanirbhar Bharat through a well-established domestic supply chain. Friends, together with this, we need to promote the sector in the global markets. The government, along with industry, needs to identify the potential markets and potential products, and then set up trade promotion desks in these markets and promote Indian products under the aegis of Brand India Engineering. This cannot be achieved without skilling our workforce. Majority of the workforce, especially the older workers, were farm workers who migrated to the industry and learned skills while working in the factory. It is imperative that we continuously train our workforce and upgrade their skills for improved productivity and cross-functional working so that we can implement principles of lean management through lean manufacturing tools and techniques like 5S, Kaizen, Kanban, statistical process control, total productive maintenance, Six Sigma, to name a few. Friends, as we have seen, the steel prices have been rising considerably in India and have been fluctuating too much. For the engineering sector to grow and to be competitive, key inputs like steel at affordable and international prices is a must to maintain the competitiveness of this sector. We have made all these appeals to the government, and some of these considerations, some of these have been considered in the budget. So friends, to conclude, 2020 has been a difficult year. Looking forward, I sincerely hope that the coming financial year will dawn a new era in the Indian industry, especially construction sector and allied engineering, manufacturing and services. On this positive note, I wish success to Udyog Manthan webinar series organized by QCI and DPIIT. Thank you.
Thank you, Anupam ji, for a pretty comprehensive coverage with quite a lot of statistics. There are a few questions which we will keep for the Q&A session. I next move on to Mr. Pankaj Dharkar. Mr. Dharkar is a renowned MEP and green building consultant, an ASHRAE and IGBC fellow, and he provides innovative and sustainable solutions in the field of building engineering services. During his rich experience of over 40 years, Mr. Dharkar has been associated with several prestigious projects, including almost a who's who or a what's what in the terms of Indian construction, including Akshardham at Delhi, hundreds of tall residential and commercial buildings in Mumbai, the GIFT city, Kolkata, Delhi, hotels for multinational groups including Hyatt, Hilton, Marriott, Taj, Oberoi, just to name a few. In his illustrious resume spanning over 4,000 projects, in addition to these projects, he's received several awards and accolades for his continuous dedicated efforts for the welfare of society and for excellence in designing and developing innovative and sustainable building engineering services. Mr. Pankaj Dharkar, over to you, sir.
Thank you, Sriram, for that long introduction. I really appreciate. My thanks goes to entire team of QCI who has given me opportunity to share this evening with Indrajit ji, Surjit ji, Anupam ji, Ashutosh ji, and of course Sudeep ji, and my dear friend Sandeep Goel, who hails from my industry. He's my colleague for many years. So, and of course, my special thanks goes to Mr. Sanjay Pant sir, who really connected us to this illustrious team. And thanks to DPIIT for this innovative idea of Udyog Manthan. I think I'm really honored to be part of these speakers. We are, of course, covering the building engineering services. And if you really see a typical building, I'm just taking average cost. Currently, if a construction cost is going to a level of 2,500 rupees a square foot, out of which engineering services for a good building could cost average 1,250 to 1,300 rupees a square foot. Sandeep can correct me later, of course. Out of which I see that close to 700, the projects from 500 to 700 rupees a square foot are currently importing the materials. They could be of, if you take air conditioning, could be chillers or VRP systems or pumps or fans or plumbing, piping, even the copper tubes which gets into all our engineering equipments. Or if I take fire side, even a smallest sprinkler is currently getting imported. Also talking about all automation segment, wherever silicon chips are getting used, whether it is a detector, everything is imported for me. Unfortunately, 70 years post-independence, we are in a situation where we feel pained when we see that our engineering manufacturing capabilities, though we can see the flares of it, it has not gone to a level where we are able to use them. In fact, people who are making nice products which are of international standards are not getting enough support from maybe the consultants like us or many of our panelists or even people who are attending this seminar. Forget about even our own biggest construction agency like CPWD. They are also not encouraging purely equipments which are manufactured by us, though in recent past there have been notifications coming and which is probably going to ensure a lot of indigenized equipment being getting implemented in project sites. But I think a lot of thrust has to be given to this by all of us here, because unless we inspire our own people, we cannot see a bright future for Atmanirbhar Bharat. If I take various certification agencies, if I take a fire segment for that matter, which is a sensitive area where nobody wants to take a chance, they want to go for a ULFM approved equipments and materials, smallest possible material. They want to go for a CE certified material, but unfortunately, the trust level of BIS means our ISI marked equipments have not gone up. I think I take this as a challenge with QCI team. I think we need to strengthen somewhere our BIS standard. Why only India? We should be making it so solid that the international acceptance of BIS goes up in terms of ISI marked. I think that is where a lot of work needs to be done by all of us, making sure that these products are respected in our country, and then going forward they are exported and our own certified products compete, and that trust level should come to entire world. I think that is a key area where I think I will urge this group to really ponder and see how we can take our Indian manufacturer to the global facility by creating that awareness of standard or stamping, which gives confidence to people across the globe. If I take, I mean, that can of course happen with ensuring that we recognize our manufacturers by awarding Make in India certificates from PMO or authorized QCI can take lead there. Inspire them, ensure that the central and state government tenders make sure that there is no import possible where we are making these equipments. And even I take a opportunity to talk about Central Vista project, which will have 22,000 crores spent in Delhi, and that can mean that there could be opportunity of 4 to 5,000 crores of MEP products. Can we ensure that everything is indigenized? I think that is a day when we can see that can instill a growth rate in our MEP segment. We talk about silicon chips. I think a huge dependency is hampering our Indian manufacturers to really get into a right thing, because everything currently is getting imported ultimately from China. So how do we take out dependency on silicon chips, because that is giving rise to a lot of automation products, smoke detectors, CCTVs. Prime Minister has a dream to create 100 smart cities. So much of silicon chips will get into all that in terms of our MEP engineering services. How do we do that unless silicon chips are produced in this country at an affordable price, by which our MSMEs are able to generate a product? So I think QCI and all our stakeholders have a huge challenge in inspiring and ensuring that these products are available at affordable price to compete the might of China. I think I just want to take a very small example, and all of us would have seen a small fire sprinkler. A fire sprinkler, you will not believe currently India is importing 330 million pieces, which are costing just 120 rupees per piece, average cost I am taking, which means we are talking about 36,000 million Indian rupees, 500 million US dollar only on sprinklers. And can you believe that India can produce this also in 108 rupees, and which can ensure that import component of 10,500 million, which is close to 145 million, can be saved by India? Now, this is a very, very small example I gave you from my industry, which is probably the cheapest possible item which goes into MEP services, a fire sprinkler. But unfortunately, we are blessed with a situation where, because our certifications are not that powerful, we are ensuring that we are taking ULFM certified products which comes from multinational companies. And this is a product which, with good CNC equipments, probably the country should have developed all this, but this has not happened. So why not we take a pledge that we are able to do this with a stamping which is powerful, going to a very high quality standard of manufacturing. And why can't India also not only fulfill their own requirement, but also able to export across the globe? And I think that is a day when we will look forward that today's all the trust which is being given by government is able to do that. Because I just took small example of sprinkler, but there are several case studies. We talk about large chillers, air conditioning chillers, equipments. I mean, they can save mammoth thing, and we are competent, we are capable, we can do that. And I think that is where a strong quality assurance programs and stampings of and making our I think quality which will make sure that India becomes Atmanirbhar. So thank you very much, QCI team and also DPIIT team for inviting me and sharing my views. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Darkar. I think your views on promoting BIS and the Make in India certifications to ensure quality standards are well taken. We move on to the next speaker. I'd like to introduce Mr. Ashutosh Chandwar. He's the CEO of Dinesh Chandra R. Agrawal Infracon Private Limited, also known as DRAIPL. He's done his ME in transportation from the University of Rajasthan, and since then he's been in several important positions in industry, including being the Chief Technical Officer of Peak Infrastructure Management Services. He has been the Senior VP of ILNFS Transportation Limited for 11 years. He's worked on several prestigious projects in the sector. Over to you, sir. Sir, I think you'll have to unmute your...
Sorry. Thank you, Shriram. Thank you. And now, before going ahead, probably my talk will be limited to productivity aspect in construction, since I executed the India's largest tunnel project. So whatever I faced, and we improvised ourselves in increasing the productivity by thereby reducing the overall cost of the project. I would like to highlight some of the challenges and some of the learning lessons we had. Generally, productivity means what? Productivity means more achievement per resources. In underground construction, particularly in tunnels, we consider productivity means the linear length per crew. That is our measurement. The issue of decline of productivity in construction industry has been put in a spotlight. That is why we are here. Due to the failure to meet our challenging performance expectations of our clients, reinventing construction is key to improve the productivity, still achieving high standard of quality for to meet the present day competition. Reinventing reflects to not only inventing advanced material and the equipment, but also developing new operating systems for construction project. Project like Chanani Nashri, now known as Shama Prasad Mukherjee Tunnel, reinvented by use of many firsts in terms of technology, material, and equipment to achieve high rate of productivity, which is still unparalleled in India with regards to the highway tunnels in similar geology. The dependency of construction industry for such complex projects are on imported machinery, material, and engineering design. As the Pankaj said it in earlier in his talk, that we can develop our own methods, we can develop our own engineering, Why are not we invent ourselves, and instead of depending on imported material or imported services? The example was something around 700 crore rupees was spent on importing the material and machinery in Chinani Nashiri project. So, I mean, there is a lot of scope, and if India can develop an technology or the skill set under Atmanirbhar Bharat by developing N95 mask, which we were importing prior to the lockdown, and now we are exporting. Why can't we develop anything which we want in our country and reduce our dependency on other countries? Right. These days, construction players have often been heard to say, as long as we are aggressive and efficient as our usual competitor, we always get our share of work. Competition earlier was a problem, was a limitation, but now it is no longer a limitation. If there is a competition and you won the contract on a competitive price, definitely you are having the opportunity to maintain profitability by improving productivity, adopting advanced techniques, improving skill set of the crew and supervision staff, increasing the connectivity between the crew and management, proper risk allocation, introducing artificial intelligence for protocol control, venture into the new material are various fields. I'm just pointing out some. There are many other fields wherein if we improve ourselves, probably we will improve our productivity. More and more contractors or the contracting firms or construction firms are now adopting the uh, EMS systems, and that's a clear-cut shift from routine monitoring system to the quality engineering monitoring systems. And still, one more thing which I would like to touch upon is that we are the largest producing engineers in the world, but we have the least quality engineers available in the country. That's the engineering education aspect. Sorry to say, but that's the reality. You still we have dependent on largely on the services from outside our country. So to negotiate this problem, AICTE has initiated improvement in engineering curriculum and established the connect between the industry and the academy or academic curriculum. And now government expectation, of course, is that the engineering firms or the construction firms creates a positions in their company so that the like medical, we can have the the available positions so that the engineers can also be having the experience prior to passing out the engineering. There are management related site issues which are very complex in the construction projects, and difficulty especially when you are taking up the complex project like underground construction. The main problem is quantification of all the factors involved at site. Two most important measures of crew oblique individual oblique labor or the contractors or the subcontractor is the first is the efficiency with which you get the output from the construction processes, and second is the efficiency of the people for doing that particular type of work to achieve the given output and at a time and place. That is development of a skill. Old Indian culture in construction project is measure with the measure the productivity with the cost reporting cycle and control measures generally adopted to contain the cost, irrespective looking for the productivity with quality. This largely ignores the quality parameters. Certainly, in underground projects, any lockdown or strikes has a huge time dependent cost. Thus mean that we need to have a certain policies towards the human resource development, and we should have a human factor in the productivity. Motivation of workers which can enhance through job enrichment, that is increasing the things that satisfy the work about the job. And second is by lessening the demotivators, that is the things which workers dislike. Would like to give that in the project we use 95% of the local labor, and they had never executed any tunnel project in the past. So how much skill development programs we took up to achieve the desired that reduces our cost, and it was very difficult to get the things, get the correct kind of skill set for Jammu and Kashmir at that time. Of course, we completed our construction in 2016. So at that time, it was difficult to talk about. And this parameter is very important, that these days one has to be very particular about increasing the motivation of the workers, both in terms of enrichment as well as in terms of their avoiding dislikings. Another challenge that construction industry facing is lack of skilled operators, as youth are more and more inclined towards the white collar job. See, on one hand, we are having the shortage of the skilled manpower. On the other hand, we have the largest number of unemployed youth. This balance has to be matched, and of course, the government of India is taking a large scale efforts through the skill development program. Probably if that will be there, we'll be having a better, efficient workforce to achieve that task. Increasing earning in a skilled job may change the trend sometime, but not necessarily. Quality of supervision can be viewed in terms of leadership and team building. Everyone wants to be winning side always, and this is the factor which can be used to get the good supervision. In Chennai Nashi Tunnel, we evaluated that about 15% of the time of the team was spent on communication, and this was later on reduced by adopting the good supervision techniques and communication skills. Construction industry is far behind the manufacturing industry in applying the concept of material management. More recently, the construction industry has become cognizant of importance of the management of production, project material and equipment, which can amount to 50% of or more of the project cost. On moderate side, labor productivity gains up to 6% and may be attainable through improved material management. The reduced dependency on import of the machinery and component will definitely increase the productivity in India. Government is extending support through Make in India, which certainly will improve the productivity of the construction projects. So I try to touch upon the management, material management, the human resource part and material part, and finally the machinery part. That's the whole thing. If we implement, probably we'll be able to improve the productivity at the same cost or at the lesser cost. Thank you very much. Thank you, team QCI and DPIIT team, which give me the opportunity to present my views on this. And thank you, Shriram, specifically you who took a lot of pain in taking up this particular session, and I hope and we wish success for this webinar. Thank you.
Thank you, Santoshji. It's been a very interesting talk, and I think you made some very important points related to productivity improvements. Of course, with the example of underground construction, but in construction projects, like you correctly said, the dependence on technology is dragging us as much as the labor and skill factors. And you've made some good impacting points on improving two skill sets as part of a longer program. So we'll come back to some questions on that later. Um, I'm delighted to move on to Mr. Sandeep Goel, who is the director of ProIon Consultants Private Limited. He has over 25 years of building services, construction, consulting experiences, and has worked his way up from being a hands-on design engineer up to project director. He has successfully designed systems for numerous projects, being closely involved in the design, coordination, and innovation of MEP services design. He's got a portfolio of about 500 projects, which includes mixed use, hotels, hospitals, commercial, offices, retail, residential, high-rise projects, and plotted development. Um, we're quite enthused to have you, Sandeep, and look forward to hearing more from you. You're on mute, I believe.
Hello.
Not able to hear you.
Can you hear me now?
This is better, yes.
Okay. Good afternoon, sir. And I'm thankful to QCI to have this great opportunity to interact. Moreover, learn from my senior colleagues, carry back certain information which would be very interesting. And the whole idea is that, we come from all very diverse portfolio, but I think the collaborative approach is to bring the excellence to our country with respect to, the quality, the standardization, the improvisation in those things. So primarily, and I'm grateful to Mr. Sriram as well to spend his time to discuss with me on certain things which we should bring more value to the conference and the discussion here. Primarily, if you really look at what we look at is basically the quality is coming out as an improvisation in process. So if your processes are well defined, you are able to achieve quality, and moreover, I think improvisations in processes will lead to better scalability, with which we can have productivity, which provides you more reliability, which provides you more wealth creation, and also provides you the satisfaction. How immensely satisfied we feel when we use a product which comes of a quality benchmark. All of us are very well aware, right from using pressure cookers back at home to helmets to good electrical wires, quality matters and touches our lives on everyday basis. And how important it becomes when people like us who are prescribing these quality products to our clients have the confidence of the clients when they're using it in their families, in their well-being, in their premises. It becomes so imperative that we can concentrate on the business which these functions are to perform, rather than being worried about the quality aspects of the products which are being used in their portfolio primarily. I, like Tharkar sir, I come from the background of MEP consulting engineers. We do a lot of work with respect to building segments per se. And a lot of senior colleagues here are in infrastructure projects. Their understanding of the projects are of a different spectrum. My understanding of a projects are in kiloliters per day, whereas some of my senior colleagues will talk about million liters per day. So, the benchmark changes, but the scale remains the same. So we are in, KVAs and megawatts, and there we have got, many other colleagues who will speak on a different platform with respect to the scalability of the products which we use. Primarily, if you really see India, when we work in building services segment, commercial building segments, which is hotels, hospitals, offices, residential projects, we see a lot of products very satisfactorily available from the Indian context. If you talk about chillers to generators to transformers to elevators, I feel you name it, and we have a good manufacturer with their operations in India, either an Indian company or even the kind of make in India policy which the government came up with. A lot of shift has happened where the country becomes the base for either the Indian manufacturers to make their credibility with respect to the quality products, or we also have international players who do come to India at the shore of India to make the quality products available for our country back in home, available as much as a local product. So primarily the gap which I feel has been in our fraternity is a little bit towards probably low voltage services and electronics. And that's where I think we need to still bridge the gap. But a lot of other information which is available on the high side engineering services is phenomenally available with respect to the local understanding the customization of the products for our country, and also the quality benchmarking for the right kind of performances to yield from. Primarily, on an interesting note, I want to be focusing my talk for another 2 3 minutes on something which I feel very I feel very belonged that we should be talking about is water efficient products. Now, I'm actually focusing only on a very specific subject to kind of share my opinion about how water efficiency has been a part of the DNA of the green buildings which happen in the country, how the new standards are coming up from the Bureau of Indian Standards to describe the aspects of water efficiency. Now, today, if you really look at, we have moved from incandescents to CFLs to LEDs, and gone are the days when we used to only use a better, light emitting product only in our drawing rooms or in our bedrooms. Today, even your bathrooms, which are used for 45 minutes to 1 hour in a whole day, is also having an LED, because we understand the benefit of providing, or the cost of investment, or the return which you get from a installation like an LED, even in a bathroom which is hardly lit. And most of the time in India, we have got naturally bathrooms with natural lights. So a lot of times we don't really use lights in the bathrooms as well, because they are very well lit. But we are moved ahead as an educated society for the right quality of products to be used for those kind of requirements. But my concern I should express is being the unawareness which is still there in the society towards water efficient products. How many of us are actually looking for a water efficient products when we today go and make purchase for our own households, for our own product projects? I think that is not yet caught up in the country. A lot of awareness has to come in. The Bureau of Indian Standards is working towards the standards to provide that kind of efficiencies. The best part to note is that despite we are talking about water efficiency, this is not at the cost of reduced sanitation aspects to the end customer. There have been a lot of international studies which have been experiments which have been created to establish what should be the right kind of flow and pressures which should be available from these fixtures, which will provide you the right type of sanitation despite not wasting water, and in fact saving water. And the best part of it, the cloud with a silver lining, is that you're not just saving water as a resource, you are saving energy. Now, energy with respect to sourcing water, treating water, distributing water, heating water, and also treating wastewater. So the whole idea comes around is that while we have a lot of information available, we still need to move towards not only towards the right quality, the right kind of quantities, and the right kind of information to be available for these kind of products to come further. As an interesting note, this kind of water saving systems came up in green buildings earlier. ITC hotels, I would like to tell you, actually established 30% of water being saved in their hotel businesses, with 12% of energy saving coming out from saving because of water. So what got established as an experimental process in the industrial days has now becoming the norm, the new norm, to actually have the society take up this as a part of your own portfolio for providing fixtures and fittings which are efficient. So I have just actually provided, Mr. Sriram, I've actually just provided a small insight about the potential we have only on a very small product which might just escape our attention. But if we focus on such a small product, while Mr. Dharkar talked about sprinkler, which is another product in physical shape and size small, similarly a small shape and size product like water efficient fixtures, which is very small in size and shape, the kind of benefits which the society can get with a better quality and the better kind of productivity on those systems can be absolutely a very well opportunity for the society. Internationally, a lot of countries have actually used water efficient products as a part of their energy policy programs. So my request is that we should work together to bring a society awareness, as well as to make a demand in the industry for the purpose of quality and the quantities, to become this as a new norm, as a new requirement to be provided in our built environment. Thank you, sir.
Fantastic. Thank you, Sandeep ji. It was quite a passionate speech, especially on the advocacy for the extension of BIS standards and cover material standards as well. And then the advocacy of a star rating program equivalent for water efficiency standards. I remember from my stint in Abu Dhabi during my career, they were replacing all the tap fixtures with water efficient uh, products. We tried something similar in Bangalore in some of the housing societies. We had a major problem with silt coming in and blocking those fixtures. So I think there are a few technical challenges that we might have to navigate past and look at it more from a systemic point of view, but very well taken. Um, I would like to next move on to Mr. Surajit Pan. He is the head building infrastructure South Asia for Bureau Veritas. Um, he is a strategic business leader with 23 years of distinguished career in managing an entire gamut of business operations across very challenging geographies like South Asia and African countries. He's had a very good success rate in formulating business expansion strategies across infrastructure, real estate, retail, process, plants, hotels, and healthcare sectors. He's also worked very closely with a lot of customers, people who either finance projects or execute projects, people like Barclays, Renault, Reliance, Tata Group, L&T, Chennai Metro, HSBC, and a lot of other names that are quite a long list to read out from. He's also a business startup specialist with success in setting up construction labs across Bangladesh and Sri Lanka. I think he brings in a new perspective to this discussion, and we are quite keen to hear you, sir. Hello?
Hello.
Mr. Pan?
Yeah. Can you hear?
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you very much for these introductions, Mr. Iyer. Thanks to my fellow distinguished panelists, and thanks to QCI to arrange this kind of seminar or maybe webinar, which help us to understand various portfolios and things. Here, of course, I understood that we have discussed quite a brief about various quality aspects. As we are in service providing industry and specific to quality and health and safety areas, when we see to the market, very few special case I can maybe elaborate here, which may help us to understand that the present level of the idea of quality in this market is, it's maybe regulatory driven. It's maybe some laws is there behind, so I have to follow the quality. So that makes some kind of, changes in terms of when we deliver a product. So in any kind of product, if I say, even with the automotive industry or maybe the construction industry, the basic thing is that to follow the basic guidelines which has been given to produce or to give this product in best way. Now, when we see that it is driven by the laws or regulations, so that means sometimes it will be by force. But if we see that no, this quality means at the end of the day, we will get better product, which will run better, our operational cost will be reduced, our economical value will be going to increase. Maybe a bridge I'm going to construct for 30 years durations. I have done the designing based upon certain parameters, certain factors I have considered, but during construction, due to our own attitude, chalta hai, and quote unquote, we miss certain things, and then we feel that, oh my God, why this bridge has been collapsed within 10 years time? And then we do a lot of reinvents that okay, fine, we have to do some gap analysis, we have to do some kind of NDT testings, and then we have to repair and rectify. So that kind of things we believe somehow, of course, I'm not saying that it is blanketly not happening, it's happening, but it's not happening as a systematic, as a synchronization mode. I believe that should start from the level of when we are going for a study in terms of engineering classes. If I seek to go to the engineering classes, even though till now, the basic raw material testing, if I say that, I can give an example, that our construction material testing is subject in our study time, but most of the education institute will not have such elaborated equipment which can develop such kind of tendency that yes, we need to have the quality. Now, going ahead further, see, I do believe all the manufacturing units and the other production shops, maybe the big dealership players, EPC players, they will have their inbuilt quality systems. They will have their inbuilt team who can monitor, manage the best of the best product. Now here, when we feel that in a project, when the EPC developers or maybe the team is dedicated for that, they will also have a challenge to finish the project within the time frame, within the cost. This is of course, this is another two big parameters. But surprisingly, or maybe sometimes we have noticed that when we address this cost and the time, we forget about the quality. Because we feel quality means it's an additional cost. We feel quality means additional burden. So that area we need to, maybe we, as I said, maybe if I say 10 years down the line, yeah, there is maybe a lot of things we have to do, but right now, surely the industry has upgraded. But when you compare to Europe or maybe other countries, we still much more behind about that concept. So we need to understand that at the a third eye, an expertise view is required to manage the overall, who are only concentrating about the project benefit in terms of quality, which will help us during the operation phase of the project or enhancement their life cycle of the project. Now, if we see that, the way the quality, you all know that quality is having a good impact in our regular day-to-day life. Even though we go to straight, drive a car and moving very fast on the road and we found a potholes, we always blame what type of quality they have made. But that comes under the part of this portion of design, as well as some latest development of the material. So I'm talking about here research and development part of this technological improvement, which maybe we have huge construction company will have a lot of big equipments. Now those big equipments, how to operate, how to manage their efficiency, how to manage in that sense, which will give a best productivity. I truly believe the local resources, as we take these considerations of Atmanirbhar Bharat, that should come if we should learn the essence of all these technical things to put inside in ourselves. We will surely, we have this talent, we have this knowledge, we have the capability, but the problem is that our attitude and to implement that similar things in our daily routine life. When you go to Singapore, we follow the Singaporean rule. When you go to America, we follow American rules because we know that there will be a stringent punishment. As here, it is not like that much. So we follow our own rule. We follow that, okay, fine, it will be happen. The code is there for us to make it something, okay, fine, let me manage the tolerance limit, and then we forget whatever this mentioned. So to make things more creative, more impactful, we have to see in the day one, when as an engineer pass out, he should know what is the basic of the construction quality, because construction is purely done by these unskilled or maybe semi-skilled laborer or the workers. If we are not able to train them, if we are not able to guide them, if our supervisor, our engineers are not able to knowledgeable about the quality parameters, it's very difficult to deliver it. It's very difficult to deliver. We cannot expect that every time we will bring some kind of expert outside of the country and then they will do some kind of things and they will move away. So we have to driven our own beliefs, our own parameters, so that we can give a better product at the end of the day. We talk about a lot of green building concept, green building certification, green building areas. Now, if you see that green building certification is going on across the globe and of course in India too, and we have taken a lot of parameters to make our building, our factory, or other construction industry to be a green. Now, for that we have certain laws, certain parameters which we are following, and then we are making them, okay, fine, I'll give a green building certificate so that their attraction is more and they're going for it. But on us The onus is our own, that how to implement this mindset of green building to across all the product across the country. Now, if I go to this quality to safety parameters, I believe there's much more alarming things which we have seen maybe every construction sites. People, as I said, all are construction workers, laborers, workforce. They are surely not educated, but the implementation part by those people who are educated, who are knowing the facts, if they feel this is chalta hai, then surely I believe we are not in the right track. So we have to be very careful, and I believe the present generation of the people are much more aware, and they are putting the things in a proper perspective, and it will give us a better result maybe in coming days or coming futures. Maybe whatever we have seen in the 19s, right now in 2020, we have seen far better result. And we expect we will catch up surely with this kind of environment, with this kind of supports, which the government as well as QCI is providing the platform to increase the awareness. It will help us to build that kind of society when we can say proudly that our quality is the number one. We are the best. That is the strategy, that we should be the best in the world, not to depend upon somebody else to dictate us and then put us that, no, you are not doing good. So we need to have this, I believe this one kind of Udyog Manthan's main strategy and agenda should be that we should be the number one, and we can do it. We can do it. That's it from my side from this today's or tonight's the discussions. I am ready to take any kind of calls during Q&A sessions. Again, thanks to Mr. Iyer and the QCI and the Department of DPIIT to give us a chance to speak about something regarding quality and safety aspects in our construction industry. Thank you all.
Thank you, Surajit Ji. I think you have made some very good suggestions, which we will follow up on in the question and answer session, especially the use of specialist agencies to ensure compliance to a necessary minimum standard. I'm delighted to move on to the next speaker. Dr. Udyog Bhattacharya is the director of NABIT. NABIT is the National Accreditation Board for Education and Training under the Quality Council of India, Ministry of Commerce and Industry. Dr. Bhattacharya has over 30 years of varied experience across industry, government, and academia. He's made significant contributions to healthcare, IT, education, and skill training, besides industry competitiveness. There's several publications to his name in national and international journals, and we are quite eager to hear you, sir. Over to you. Dr. Bhattacharya? I think you're on mute.
Yeah. So thank you, Sriram, for giving me my background, and I'm delighted to be part of this August gathering. The distinguished panelists along with me, and all the participants of this today's evening's webinar. So I'd like to speak on the lean manufacturing today, which our board is implementing, the part of Ministry of MSME. So I'd like to take you through a couple of slides, which you allow me. Can you see it? Can you see this?
Yes, we can see.
Okay. So I'm talking on lean manufacturing and industry 4.0, promoting sustainable automation. So all of you, as you know, that we are going through the industry 4.0 times, and there are 10 technology disruptors today, which is the 5G, the Internet of Things, or Internet of Everything now, AI and ML, which the speakers have already talked about, artificial intelligence and machine learning, robotics, personal assistance, edge cloud, virtualization, virtual and augmented reality, autonomous drones and cars, and open source. So these are the 10 technology disruptors. I take you back to what lean manufacturing is. As you all know, Lean talks about removal of non-value items, which is the 8 forms of waste which are shown on the right-hand side of the screen, which is defects, overproduction, waiting, non-utilization of talent, transportation, inventory, motion, and extra processing. So as you all know, the lean manufacturing is the base intervention which forms the edifice of quality in manufacturing. So the Ministry of MSME was running a scheme since 2014, the MSME Lean Scheme, with the objective of improving the competitiveness of the MSME sector by eliminating waste, reduce time, and reduce total cost. The journey that we had along with the National Productivity Council, we touched upon 5,000 MSMEs put together, out of which we saw a 7 times return on consultant fee and a savings of up to 25 lakhs in average per unit through the 94 clusters that we completed in the 2-year journey. So the financial benefits which were seen were improvement in 5S score, which Anupam mentioned in the beginning in this opening talk, 15 to 50%, average savings from 5S about 10 lakhs, space utilizations of 660 square foot average, overall equipment effectiveness of 17%, inventory reduction of 33%, and Kaizens implemented, an average of 25 to 50 Kaizens implemented per cluster, single minute exchange of dice, average 30 to 40 minutes saved per unit. So this is just one example of an organization which was a loss-making organization, which went from -3 loss-making to 12% profit-making in a span of 18 months. Just to showcase just one case, by implementing lean tools of 5S, cellular layout, Kaizens, Kanban, Poka UK, etc., with an annual savings of 62 lakhs. So the implementation of lean had other benefits, which are reduced setup times, reduction in work in progress, higher productivity, things like quality improvements, improved customer satisfaction, reduced cost, enhanced profitability, reduced lead times and space requirements, and overall equipment effectiveness, to name a few. So in this, about 80% of the consultant fee is being supported by Ministry of MSME, and 20% of the fee is paid by unit owner. So now as we move on from lean to industry 4, this is a slide which has been taken from the Boston Consulting Group, which shows that if lean is implemented alone, a 15 to 20% cost reduction is achieved. And if industry 4.0 is implemented alone, another 10 to 15% cost reduction is achieved. But if lean and industry 4.0 is done together, then up to 40% cost reduction could be achieved, which is quite substantial. So this is the industry 4.0 matrix, which shows the stages of industry 4.0. This is a slide from the Aachen University, which shows that digitalization is must to take the manufacturing floor from computerization to connectivity. Then with introduction of IoT, with visibility, transparency, predictive capability, and edge capability, adaptability by bringing in edge computing and cloud computing and AI. So we have to presently take the large number of MSMEs, which is in industry 2.5, which is going through the conventional methodology of offline data of design, specifications, and operations, to digitization, which is data on the premise. And from there, we take them to the digitalization, which is data through the gateway and hosted on the cloud, having analytics through AI and visualization on multimodal platforms. So automation will definitely enhance quality and inequality, but sustainable automation will balance both quality and equality. So currently the lean tools are the ones which are being shown, but now the Ministry of MSME is coming back after rehashing the lean scheme with addition of JIDOKA, which stands for low cost automation, which is partially automating the manufacturing process, reducing the defects, labor cost, and improving the quality. I end my talk by this one slide from Rabindranath Tagore's prose, which is where the mind is without fear and the head is held high, where knowledge is free. That means I take it fast forward to into that heaven of freedom, my father, let my country awake. So Ministry of MSME is now envisaging to make the entire body of knowledge of lean free of cost to the MSMEs who register now in the phase 2 of lean manufacturing being launched shortly. So thank you. So this is another quote which says that educate some, you can change a lot. Educate many, you can change the world. Thank you very much.
This is so true. I mean, the last quote that you said reminds me of something else we studied. You know, if you feed people fish, you know, they come to you every day. But if you teach them how to fish, you kind of create a self-sustaining economy. Thank you, Dr. Bhattacharya. I think you've given a good analogous adaptation of lean, which is manufacturing oriented. Conceptually, can be applied to services.
Yeah.
You also mentioned digitalization, and speaking of digitalization, it's very apt that our next speaker, Mr. Sudeep Mazumdar, comes from the digitalized community. He is currently the global CDIO of Pyramid Glass, and prior to this stint, he was my ex-colleague at L&T. He was heading the digital group there. He's a civil engineer from Calcutta University and MBA from the School of Management, IIT Mumbai, and has done a global leadership program with the Ross Business School at the University of Michigan. He also has a diploma in cyber law. In addition to his 26 years of work experience across the globe, he's chiefly been instrumental in leading initiatives on digital transformation, which you also touched upon a short while back. And he's keen to experiment with emerging technologies and solving business problems. Sudeep, over to you.
Thanks, Sriram. Thank you very much. I'll take some advantage of being the last person, being the patient listener to all of you, but take some advantage because something might have been covered and something might have been said a little more controversial. I can, add some fueling to that fire. Let me just put it this way. But before, I just loved all of you. Somebody touched upon lean, somebody touched upon water, somebody touched upon construction. Asudha Saab, you touched on construction. So all of you had something to say, right? Just if I combine that, that's what the advantage of being a last speaker. You talked about as a skill, who wants to be a safety or a quality engineer? Which civil engineer or a mechanical engineer wants to be a quality or a safety engineer? If that is the case, I'll just really ask how many CEOs in the construction world really has been in the safety and quality function for a couple of years? Just 2 years, right? So we are making it. See, this is, again, I must say that some of the things that we'll be getting absolutely personal observation, nothing to do with the companies I serve or I served in the past, or I'll be serving possibly in the future. But important thing is that when you're talking about, you essentially talk about role rotation. HR best practice globally to make quality and productivity in a person 360 degree. None of the CEOs possibly have done a safety and quality. That's one. Secondly is, we are all talking about, yes, of course, India is lagging in many, many ways. I mean, absolutely fantastic. Recently, what are the digital stuff that we are talking about? What is this digital stuff? I mean, I go by the basic. If you look at the brochure that you placed, and I wrote something on that, that if today somebody asks us, I mean, I'm talking about with my past company or even the industry, any industry leader, tell me the productivity of a gang coming out of Murshidabad. What is the productivity in Punjab at 5 degrees Celsius? What is the productivity in Tamil Nadu? Same type of work at 48 degrees Celsius. Can somebody tell me? No. Okay, there is no data. We boast ourselves that we are fantastic country. We have got huge stuff. But what happened is, over a period of time, we have not cultivated a data-driven culture. Today, that is why digital is so relevant for us. It is helping us to create new benchmarks. Yeah, I'll come back to that on that topic. What we have seen in L&T, the illustrious journey of my last 3.5 years before my pyramidal journey, and so much of digital we did, and so much of things that we learned, in the process. So there's a third part. We're talking about Atmanirbhar Bharat. We're talking about the silicon chips. We're talking about all these things. Tell me, putting your hands on the heart, how many of you bought temperature screener post-COVID world? All of you possibly. How many have? Yeah. How many have really inquired into the market who are the Indian manufacturer? It's a great news to me. I have seen at least 10 companies, 200 executives. Everybody is happy with the Chinese product. I have nothing against Chinese product because they are efficient. They have got a global scale manufacturing. No wonder they can give you the price point nobody can match. That's an economy of scale. That's an economics, not politics, right? But at the same time, if I look at that, did we really do our job? I think we'll have to question to ourselves. No answer possibly from my side at this point in time. And the last point is basically, so there is a difference between cost and the technology. It's called mindset, in my opinion. We feel that the cost, to reduce the cost, we may go low tech. Actually, it's the other way around. So between the cost, I just what was drawing kind of a sand clock. If you look at sand clock, the top is if the cost and or the technology at the bottom is the the cost. In between is the mindset, which is basically the constricting point. I think having said that, I would really request you, the leadership, the country level, at the organization level, at the company level, and the society at different pockets, to think digital really, really hard. It has got all Atmanirbhar Bharat. It has got the leadership stuff. It has got global leadership through quality certification, as Pankaj was talking about. I'll just talk. I took a lot of notes, but possibly in the interest of time, I'll just shorten some of the trends that we are seeing in the world that is worth looking at. Little futuristic, but it's important. As Sriram was talking about, the construction will be touching upon, can we touch really little bit of engineering services? Now, engineering services, if you look at it, just post-COVID world, very interestingly, when I was in L&T, I was talking to one of the American companies. They have started the journey of gigification. What is a gigification for them? This is a company which is quite large, sometimes a competition of L&T as well. But I'm not talking about the name, just not taking the name because of IP related issue. So they're doing gigification. What does it mean? This company has got 8,000 engineers globally spread across from Baku to Mexico to Australia to India to everywhere. Post-COVID world, suddenly the entire world changed. They wanted to connect all of them because they can't go to the office, and all of them are actually serving globally. Now, the gig economy today we are in, right? So basically everybody is working in a small piece of work, right? Everything has been broken down to such an extent that you can work, I and you can work on the same piece, but you do A and I do B, and A plus B is a deliverable, right? This is happening. This was there time immemorial possibly, but now it has gone to all extent. Now, I'm talking about such an advanced mindset. They've gone to gigification, 8,000 engineers globally spread across. They want to take all their work gigified, meaning they know what exactly the derivative to be produced. They will look at what is to be produced. Okay, this is for our petrochemical company that we are building in Mexico. Okay, but that is actually with a standard of EU. Let's say the hypothetical case, EU. So that means somebody has to be chosen from the engineering pool who has done something on the EU side, who has got experience in that particular work, right? Who is not loaded at this point in time more than 60%. They're doing it at this moment, right? So gigification is a journey that has started, which is how do you use your engineering pool productively, where the productivity will be very, very high and it's outcome driven, not working hours driven. Yeah, because the world is changing from working hours driven to completely outcome driven. Doesn't matter how long you are in the office or at home, you actually deliver what has been asked to produce. So this is one trend we have seen, and it is coming up. Possibly the gigification can be done in many ways. For the architects, can be done. For all designers, can be done. Teachers can be done, and it's happening at this point in time. And I've got lots of examples. Actually, can't give all the examples right now. Second part is in the post-COVID world. Another thing is that I've seen that what used to be completely not happening, which is usage of smart glass. In L&T, we have been using smart glass last 4 years. I mean, during the journey of our digitalization, and we have been putting in all sites, the smart glasses. Now, smart glass with the augmented reality, understanding the engineering specification versus what we have built is a reality. And people don't want to come. For the clients from abroad don't want to come at this point in time. They don't want to visit the site. How will you augment the technology? How will you help the technology get this smart glass on? The moment we are bringing this on, there will be bound to be the technologists play. The technologists will make it better technology, because I have seen that initially when we put the smart glass, there's some inertia. It started from there. Certain stage we are there. Now on the top of it, through augmented reality, if you put the drawing also on the smart glass, can be done very easily. It's not a tough thing, but somewhere we'll have to give a push to that. So basically, remote inspection can be more productive in the post-COVID world. It can be as good quality as you get in a physical inspection. So when we are talking about the productivity and the quality by gigification or by remote inspection through technologies, is absolutely real. Third one, as I was talking about another related to engineering services. I've seen many times, a lot of noise within the company also, that the drawings are not coming at the right time, because of so many times the drawings are getting revised. The client has not given the right kind of specs, etc. How many are actually driven by digital data? Probably none. We love to send some of the surveys. I'm not nothing against surveys, but I'm all for surveys to be reskilled, to get a right kind of digital instruments. How many engineering colleges are having digital instruments today? How many colleges actually call us, you and me, to talk about digital, how digital is being adopted in the industry? It goes into the Dr. Indrajit's area also, is education reform. So how digital can be bundled with the education today. But coming back to this particular stuff again, the digital adoption in the pre-engineering days during the survey is absolutely important to get the right picture, accurate picture, much better picture, so that the engineers, the design engineers can provide or produce the drawings at the right time with the right quality, with the right productivity, right? So having said that, a lot of things can be done. To be honest, I've just written lots of stuff in the procurement area. We can do smart contracts. We have done actually quite a lot actually in L&T as well, because we have got a huge volume. Obviously, it depends on the volume also, how much money you can get out of it, because we talk about ROI, etc. Labor reforms you talked about. In fact, one of the statistics I gave, that statistics is not from anywhere else. I haven't borrowed anything. The statistics that 30 to 40% less than Europe or less than US, it is actually real, and we found that, right? So some of the times, so we have to actually look at these statistics to benchmark as an industry, not as a company only. Yes, as a company only we'll be doing it ourselves, but these people, the labor force, actually they come from one company to another company, right? We need to know them. What are they made of, right? What kind of productivity they have? Where do you get this data? Here comes one of the suggestions from my side. There's a framework called HIPAA. HIPAA framework is basically for healthcare in US. Now, what it does is very simple. All the hospitals, all the insurance companies, any other diagnostic companies, they have all their own databases, right? All their own applications, software applications. What US government has forced to adopt a framework called HIPAA, HIPAA. This HIPAA framework is forcing all the companies, all the organizations to make data interoperable. so that if a hospital, I'm just giving an example, if in Mumbai, Jaslok Hospital has got own system, if the data to be given to insurance company A, B, or C, they will get in a particular format. That format is fixed, right? Interoperability, it's called in the technology term. But essentially, what is it? Who doesn't matter what software you use, doesn't matter what database you use, but the output will be very same. That's called HIPAA. I'm just giving an example of HIPAA. The government should come up with such kind of framework where in all the companies should be forced to look at the demographic details, health details. Safety is a paramount importance. How many companies look at the safety parameters and save it in a GDPR way? That means safe, maintaining the privacy. Very less, right? So if you take the data, somewhere it is lying, it is unencrypted some of the times. Yeah, some of the times we don't know where it is going. So I think there needs to be a framework, a future-oriented framework. So what happens is, if we have the labor data, demographic detail, their skills details, which company they're going from, which company to which company, if we get that, now you ask them to do it, these are the 20 data points I want. You make your own system, doesn't matter. I've got a HIPAA for construction, right? So that means that data, whenever it is going to the, either it's going to the government or is going to say another company, is going to the insurance, is going to fire, it will be in a particular format. Then the data driven culture will be coming in. Today we are all in islands. We feel that my company is the last company and I'm the most efficient in the world. So I think we need to do for the industry. We'll have to get up. And that is why I actually talked about this HIPAA, because this is also required in multiple cases where aggregation is required. Amazon was not built in a day. Amazon is nothing but an aggregation, right? People understood that. Similarly, we need Amazon in our industry for the labor, for the machines, and for anything where there's a huge scale, and we're not being able to do it. So not being able to do it, I'm see, this is not the ranting session. So what I would like to say that these are possibilities and we must do it. Yeah, there must be some kind of ministry level push so that everybody complies. Everybody happily complies. It's not because everybody gains. Who knows a labor, if L&T fires him from Punjab, who knows that for a solid reason, solid legal reason, and he is not going to some other company or some other company. There is no way today, right? I think we need to get this data-driven culture to get the productivity and the quality guaranteed. So I will possibly, I've got just one more point. Just I'll talk and then I'll probably stop to take the questions later. I served 12 years outside. So before I came back in 2012. And that is why, I can see in my lens the developed world, so-called, and India and other countries. I can see that where it's my personal observation, perception, whatever you say. So I feel that we have done tremendous amount of worshipping of Jugaad. Jugaad is good, but Jugaad is not sustainable. Jugaad is for a time, it's a tactical, the name of it, right? We need to go for sustainable measurement. We need to think of not 1 year or 2 year, one project or two projects. We need to think of 20 projects. We need to think of a complete BU, complete 10 years, so that we can develop ourselves. It's a very tactical movement that we do many a times. That's why enough of Jugaad. Let's go for something strategic, something long-term, something digital enabled. We get a huge amount of talent we have. Still, if we think that we'll be doing low cost, sir, I'm not in. We should be doing a little bit. Low cost automation is something like, it's a paradox to me, right? There is a cost of IP. If there is a technology developed, there is a cost of that technology. Let's take the IP and develop on it and charge it to the world. You may differentially charge it. You may differentiate 20% to India, 80% to the outer world, but that's fine, right? So data-driven culture, digital-driven culture will come in with a different kind of mindset. And if China could do it in 20, 30 years, we can do it in 5 years. Yeah. Thank you very much. I'll just leave it here. This is some of the stuff is completely mine, and I'm ready to debate on any platform on those. Thank you very much. Shira, over to you, please.
Thank you, Sudeep. I think, yes, there is a lot of points that are quite worth detailing in follow-up discussions for sure. We have about 20 minutes left in the session. And before I get on to the Q&A, just wanted to quickly check with the organizers on the status of the Honorable Joint Secretary. Would he be making a speech? So then we could then time the rest of our questions that way. No worries. I think they'll probably get back to us on that. There is a call coming in, but not from a known number, so I expect it's not the organizers. So I had a lot of questions noted down specifically against almost each one of you, but I think in 20 minutes that's going to be a little challenging to cover. So I'll ask some sort of general questions, bringing in notes made during your presentation, as well as questions that have been mailed in advance from participants who were interested in registering, plus some questions that have come in on the chat window. I'll summarize some of these questions. I think a large theme today has been in terms of indigenization, in terms of certifying and getting that certification acknowledged globally. In terms of Atmanirbhar Bharat, a huge opportunity seen to replace China, given the anti-China sentiment that's going on. But China reached where it is today in 4 decades, starting somewhere in the early 1970s. And given our ambitious targets and the huge gaps that we have between what we are and where we would like to be, in case we jump into this, would we not be looking at large-scale industrialization or large-scale industry in manufacturing? Would MSMEs really be competitive on economies of scale? Open question, whoever would like to start answering first. You'd like to unmute, all of you gentlemen. I request you to unmute.
So can I speak, Mr. Iyer?
Yeah, Anupamji.
Sir, in this recent context, I would just like to put forward that we've been talking about anti-China feelings. But if you look at the US with former President Trump putting all the duties, and you look at the import figures, they've imported from China more than ever, with even higher import duties. So when you look at businesses, what they talk and what they do might not be in synchronization because they have to survive. Because survival, again, cost of survival, that is very important. Countries, definitely with pandemic, we have learned that we cannot rely on one source. So we should have a second source. If something happens to China, people have started looking at countries like India, Vietnam, Cambodia. A lot of them have started looking at the Asian economies. If something goes wrong like this, what happened with this pandemic? So, countries, some of them, Japan has been giving, incentivizing businesses to the cost and benefit will definitely grow. Another thing, sir, China is very fast in executing, if the US put a duty in electronics, I know of, one of my buyers is buying from China. If it's a door delivery, China was refunding the duties to the exporter. You tell me how many countries in the world would ever think of doing it? They were different, a dollar parity with the renminbi. They were different parity for exports. And it is such a closed economy, a lot of things don't come out. If my buyer had not bought, I would completely think that, I can never compete with this guy because if we can give 25% cheaper, even with the duties, so we are not as fast because we are a democratic country. We cannot hand out money left, right, and center. We have got a limited budget. We don't react that fast because there was opportunity to enter US, but the steel pricing completely upset the whole equation. Because again, the price increase was initially was far greater than rest of the world in India. But now, we are at the similar level. Now, again, the steel prices have coming down, but there was a window of opportunity we missed. But again, as you said, without capacities, we can no way think of competing with China. We are producing 110 million tons of steel. China is at around 900 some odd million tons of steel. Everything is 9 to 10 times that of us. Just like, we looked at China was the largest importing partner to India, it is to the rest of the world. Our international trade is just 1% of the global trade. We are just 1% of that, exports, imports, whatever you look at. So, definitely, as you said, 5 years is too ambitious a target. I think even if we can play, we'll have to create capacities throughout if we want to even come close to China, because, they bought lock, stock, barrel in from the developed world, created facilities, got their people trained. They didn't know English, but somehow they communicated. And now they have, they're definitely the leaders as far as manufacturing is concerned in the world.
Yeah, quite clear. The question was also about if you're going to be looking at the manufacturing sector growth through MSME based strategy, and keeping in context today's topic of quality and productivity, is there a way in which MSMEs can scale totally, as because otherwise the large scale industry, that Reliances and the Ambanis will probably invest that kind of scale. The smaller guys cannot make it.
For the engineering industry, sir, the MSMEs have survived on niche products. Traditionally, we have not been going into mass production because for us, 100,000 pieces or 10, a million pieces are big. For China, it's 10 times that capacity, So, we have been relying on niche products, selective, very selected areas where we are competing. If you really look at our product baskets, you'll find that. So, unless there's a big funding for automation, or some of the engineering companies have started now, trying to see how we can replace China in the Indian market. So if this happens, then the Indian market itself is very large. So we'll have to create capacities for the Indian market and then venture out. We are exporting already, but Indian market pays a lot less than the export market. I don't know why. So
would any of the other panelists venture an opinion on this, Pankaj, for example? Or Dr. Bhattacharya, any one of you? Yeah. Yes, Pankaj, you were saying something. Hello?
So while Mr. Dhakar get it unmuted, so in my view is, see, MSME by name itself is not scale, right? MSME is a good thing for niche products, which is absolutely right, niche product, but where there is a global scale, MSME cannot attain that scale. What you talked about China, I'm not getting into the political part of it. As I said, the political part is completely different. Economics, China is all about economy of scale. What Dhirubhai Ambani talked, when he conceptualized the refinery here, 27 million ton, now it is 30, I think 41, 42 million ton. It's all about scale. So Reliance can actually change the PSF, PFI product and the prices globally. So what China can do in many other products, right? So India has to think of, I think as a strategy also, we'll have to think of, in some cases, global scale, in some cases, MSME led growth as well, because we'll have to create employment. It's a balance between the two.
Right.
No
Any other
strategy.
quick one or two liners?
Sorry.
Yeah, please.
No, I just wanted to say that, that no strategy is 1 or 0. It's in the gray. It's not black and white. It's in the gray. We'll have to think of which part we'll be doing and which part we'll not be doing. And one more example on this as I bring in, yes, possibly this is also MSME. That, you know what, we are talking about these days. Ashutosh ji was also there in one of the this structural health monitoring side. Structural health monitoring is very important globally. Only bridge in US, my estimation was $2 billion market, right? And there's no player in the market. There's none. The gateways or the sensors are being made in Germany and somewhere else, and you are bringing in where there are people. There are people in India who can make it, right? So we'll have to think of how do we balance that. Yeah.
Right.
So,
yes, sir.
Yeah, Sriram, actually would like to tell something about why to compete China in an area where we can't compete it in terms of scale. There are so many other areas where we can compete with the China or with the rest of the world. I'll give you one example. Sudeep knows it very well that on various platforms, Honorable Minister Nitin Gadkari has pointed it out. We had a small group in SOCHM which worked out for the underground tunneling design and EPC contract. Believe me, the cost from 12,000 crore has come down to 4,500 crore.
I read about that.
Imagine the scale of reduction in the cost just because we adopted our own indigenous design and our own indigenous methods and safety standards. There's no point in spending 11,000 crore rupees at a height of 13,000 meter, 33,000 feet, and there the traffic is hardly any. So trust that he always quote that example that the group created that specification. Sudeep is laughing on that because he was there on that meeting also. So I mean, why to compete unnecessary with the international world only on that count where we can't scale? There are other things like structural health monitoring. India, it is an unknown territory still, and there are a lot of scope in improvement. In tunnels, of course, we use a lot of sensors for monitoring the health of tunnel, but even otherwise, other places, structural monitoring, bridges and building, hardly any. So we have developed another group wherein Sudeep and we are together working to develop some specification for railways as well as for the Ministry of Road Transport and Highways, then we can reduce the overall capital cost of the projects.
And increase productivity. Increase
productivity. Of course, 7 years has come down to 2 years. 7 years, sorry, 5 years. It has come down by 2 years. The project time has reduced by 2 years.
Great. Fantastic. So I'll swing to another question. See, we look at quality of products and processes and all these is one aspect. The other bit is, I think a couple of speakers touched upon the declining or the inadequate standard of labor and skilling. We also see that the new generation that's coming up, even if they are in the family of construction people, their aspirations are for white collar jobs. And in this context, how do we make the construction industry attractive for the new generation from an education and job perspective?
Who's going to take?
Open to all.
Sudeep, you first.
No, well, this is my really favorite topic because I love to interact with the colleges. I go regularly to IIT Bombay and all. So I think this conflict will remain. So we'll have to glorify the new age engineering. The old age engineering is I would not say dead, but maybe it can be taken up differently. But in today's market, we'll have to reorient the engineering student differently. We'll have to make them, as I said, the tech enabled. We'll have to glorify it by making it better processed and better, again, data driven. Because what idea, if you think of a civil engineer has coming out of the college, I can talk about myself. So when I came out of I knew that I'll have to go to 42 degrees Celsius temperature, right? I'll have to go to a place where lots of dusts are there, right? So now, what did we do to reduce the dusts? What did we do? Reduce the dust in the site. What did we do to elevate the look and feel of a construction site? Today only I was putting a LinkedIn comment. Steve Nuri, one of the influencers, actually, he put up a AI-based mobile app to count the number of bars, number of the bags, etc. We have done it in multiple sites in L&T, right? Now, why it doesn't work? Because our sites are Indian sites, and some of our guys actually visited China 3-4 years ago, and they brought a lot of photographs from the Chinese side, same type, same building sites. They're so clean. I think we have to reorient ourselves to the cleanliness, to glorify, to digital enabled, rather than thinking of that 48 degrees Celsius and dust and rain. Right. I think a lot of work has to be done in a concerted effort, because skill is changing, no doubt about it. My time, the civil engineer, right now, the civil engineer, most of the civil engineer will be working on apps. Most of the civil engineering I see in the next 5 years will be working on AI-led data models, right? The models will be given to them which area to look at, right? In my view, that's where we are. We are at the cusp of that digital. So I think it's time that we go back to the business schools, the engineering schools, and each of us, my way is very, very small way of looking at each of us, these 7 panelists. If we take up 14 institutes, we can make it happen. Just look at ourselves. Two engineering colleges per head. Give it to me. I will change the perception. Similarly, all of us can do. I think rather than showing, somebody else do it, give us. There are people, I'm telling you, if there are Teach India Foundation or the other foundation where people are willingly going, there will be a lot of executives who will be willing to go to the engineering college once again. I will go personally, right? All of us. I think we'll have to do a reorientation. Yeah, that's what my thought on that. Yeah.
So as far as the improvement of the engineering skill set is concerned, first of all, infrastructure. Colleges are mushroom like anything, and there is no infrastructure available with them to even allow the engineering student to do their studies in. I mean, that's the first part which the government should be taking up, is until and unless the particular set of infrastructure is created, I mean, the degree will not be, or the engineering entrances will not be held. Like every college, if you will go, I'm sorry to say, but I have visited one NIT also in the recent past, and I was surprised that NIT students are also equally unknown about the practical world.
So that's right. So Ashutoshji, the point I was trying to drive is, that's why I said, if we think that government will be able to standardize the education, it will take another 10-15 years possibly. They're trying. I know that they're trying. We all know that they're trying, but it'll take time. This push is not very the easy push. There's a political element to it. There's an economic element to it, education element to it. But what can we do right now? We can do some of the stuff can be done within 1 to 2 years with the help of current executives who are there. Okay? If there is a Teach India Foundation, we can create a Teach Engineering Foundation and do it.
We can do it. Yeah, charity should begin from home rather than looking outside.
I echo the same.
Sudeep, I completely echo your feelings. And as a chairman of ASSOCHAM GEM Council, this pandemic in 8 months' time, I had set a target of reaching 100 universities to create awareness in students of architecture and engineering about sustainability. And that also covers a lot of points which you suggested earlier. And of course, I could reach 66 universities in these 8 months where we did the MOUs and have started educating them on sustainability aspects during in the construction processes. So I'm sure, sir, I think what you rightly said, Majumdar-ji, there is a huge scope here, and if we instigate and we ensure that our tomorrow's generation takes all that in right spirit, and I think the young generation, I can see my daughter, my and sons and daughters of other colleagues, the kind of interest they take in sustainability and good engineering practices is much better than where we came out of universities maybe 30-40 years back. And there is a sea change, and I think a lot can be done if you rightly said all of 7 of us, 8 of us can initiate that. And there are a lot of eminent personalities on this panel while we are discussing. A huge change can be brought. Uh, one more thing I will like to touch, because I think we are running out of time. But Mujumdarji, what we are also doing from Ashuchan Jain is creating a data logging of all the commissioned sites. You know, we do a lot of sustainability work, but we don't audit the buildings after they are commissioned. So what we have started a command center in Delhi where we all certified green projects. We are logging the energy consumption, the water consumption, and the indoor air quality. And this data will be very important, because in 70 years we don't have a data of buildings which so this will enable probably the future generation to do research on better envelopes and also the engineering equipments, because this is going to be the benchmarking for the buildings, how architect or structural consultants or even engineers can complement the vision. So you touched that point about data, and I thought I must just share that good news with you. And I'm looking forward for, and I'm doing this just 20,000 rupees per building, so that, and we are doing it with cloud-based system. So maybe a year or two, we will generate a huge amount of data, which will be useful. Yeah.
Yeah, so even I wanted to comment on what Sudeep Mazumdar said, because my pitch was to driving lean and industry 4.0. So that exactly syncs with what he has said. Lean brings in the cleanliness in both the manufacturing and the service sector, and want to embrace industry 4.0, basically to drive data-driven economy, data-driven manufacturing, data-driven services.
Sriram, you're mute. Sriram, you're mute.
Yeah, thank you, Sadiq. I think it's interesting to see the optimism in this room in terms of the future, despite the fact that, we've all acknowledged there are huge bridges to build across large areas that we need to cross in terms of a divide between where we are and where we want to be. I haven't heard from the organizers yet on the Joint Secretary's speech on this thing. Would Ridhima or Shivangi, someone just quickly confirm whether we are ready to close the function?
Yeah, sir, actually this side, so he's actually JS is busy with some other work, so I think he won't be able to join for today's session.
Fantastic. So a couple of quick things. If everyone's good, there is one maybe final question to go before you all can wind up. Right. So because we've heard a lot of different areas covered by each of the panelists, and this is one question that has been a favorite in all my panels. See, if you see many industries, there have been one-off examples that have completely revolutionized the way work is done. So in terms of your view of construction industry, without just saying digitalization in a very broad way, one specific Uber type item, it could be something like 3D printing, something like that, which you feel will drive construction in the next couple of decades. Each one of you could start in the order in which you spoke.
Use of local resources.
Okay.
Resources means material, machinery, and manpower.
The three M's of construction.
Three M's.
my bet would go on the MR, which is the mixed reality device with AI on top of it, which would benchmark the quality with color coding of quality.
So to me, post-COVID, green buildings can become a strong driver of economic growth and can help and build back better by providing probably 9 million skilled jobs in both renewable and construction segment by 2030. So
Wow.
I think my take is on that, sir.
Fantastic.
But I didn't see any considerable things happening today's budget. I was a little disappointed on that note, sir.
I think today's budget was very reactionary. I think it was not so forward-looking, my view.
So I think it's very difficult, Sriram, to say there's one particular area, the Uberization, if you call about. So I think we have to go at some point in time, very soon, in the next 3 to 5 years, possibly, a labor reforms in the country, which is long due, because we need to respect all trades. All trades. Respect is the name of the game, because no profession is to be ignored, right? For that, we need to create a legal foundation. We need to do as I said, a lot of work to be done. So labor reform. To do the labor reform, we need to know who are the laborers.
Right.
Yeah, who are the people, right? What do they do? Where do they come from? They are not transactions. In one of the seminars, one of the webinars I talked about, today I get somebody, he comes in, works, I pay him, he goes off. He's a transaction to me. I need the face of that transaction, right? That's important. I need to respect the transaction, and they also need to respect me. That's one. I think this is what all about the labor-oriented work. And the second, this is also lots of overization is there. The second part is, in fact, I borrowed a lot of things from S.N. Subramanian, actually, L&T CEO, because he is a big proponent of that. You know that,
Yes.
right? And the second one is, I'm totally in it. So, and second one is, I'm talking about, sorry, L&T, but it's not, I'm talking about a particular company, but we need to do that, which is uberization of the machineries, plant and machineries. So L&T has connected 12,000 machines. So everybody has got 2, 3, 4,000 machines, right? People are not connecting it at this point in time. We don't know what is the productivity, what is the standard, and how do they produce, etc., etc. I think that's what I said. HIPAA type tool, and Amazon needs to be there, overarching for all the machinery. So I think these are the two important things that we need to do. One particular thing I must say that at this point in time, because I don't know who is from the government here. This is my dream, and that's why I just said. So I have to share my dream. I'm sorry to take that. See, one of the things that we do have this BIS we are talking about, right? BIS, European standard, Japanese standard, all these standards. All these standards are in the book form, booklet. Why today we are having a book? My question is, why are we cutting trees to produce the book and producing lakhs of thousands or lakhs of those books bought by whom? The students and the engineers and the architects, or by the companies. What they're doing, whatever they're doing, let them do. But today, with the era of AI, NLP, right? We have got the natural language processing capability. I need to have one book. I need to have an NLP capability on the top of it. And to get a bot, I should bring a bot. BIS should talk about a bot. And on the below that, they should have the NLP engine. They should not produce these books. Sustainability you're talking about, global #1 agenda today. You think of how many trees you can save, how many leaves, how many trees you can save. Just one thing. I'm just giving it to you. I'd really love to work in that area at some point in time. We don't need any more IS 456s of the world. We need an NLP form, digital form. Thank you. That's
one last thing, Shyam Saab, I'd like to add over here is, while we are talking about skilling, one of the important things which I feel is the continuing education characterization. And I would say now I would use a different word, training. So once we use skilling for workforce, training for engineers, I think that approach with KPIs, the key performance indexes, helps us tremendously. And as far as I respect the opinion which Mr. Majumdar has expressed, we manage our 5 terabyte of entire data on the cloud computing. We are a paperless office with about 22,000 visiting cards scanned. Not even a piece of paper we take from a visitor. We take his card, scan it, and give it back, the piece of paper back to him. I think as a society, we have to get digitalized, we have to get modern, and we have to educate each other. What are the systems we are implementing within our own domain to bring better excellence? I think if that is training and continuing education portfolio we move towards, within these 7 people, I think we can discuss for 7 hours and educate amongst ourselves how we can bring excellences from our respective organizations and operations into these 7 organizations. And I think that's where the whole idea about digitization and accessing the data comes to. One mobile phone, 5 terabyte of data, entire BIS is on my mobile phone, and all licensed, because BIS today gives me an opportunity to register myself, download the BIS publications, and no more going to paper. So I think that's what the whole idea is about.
Mr. Iyer, I am Sanjay Pant. I'm head of civil engineering department from BIS. I have an opportunity to say something. Can I say something?
Shriram, you are on mute.
Yes, please. I think somebody went and made everybody mute.
Yeah. So yeah, just to. I think I'm Sanjay Pant from head of the civil engineering department BIS. I was listening. I think I'm surprised. After 10 years, when we have made the all standard digital, not a standard is being published in hard copy. I think we have failed to spread the information. Today, standards are available for download for free from BIS website. Huge number of communication congratulating us that these have been made free, and these are digital for last 1 decade. These are not paperless. Using whatever way it can be done, more facilities can be done. Now you have entire National Building Code of India NBC 2016 available for free download, and it is digital. You can traverse all through the document. You can click and you reach to standards. You can download those standards, everything. Now my only suggestion is the huge number, more than 21,000 standards are there. Now we should start using them.
Yes.
Sir, Mr.
There
Pant.
can be more standard.
Mr. Pant, this is.
Yeah.
I need to.
Pradeep ji.
Yeah. So I'll just.
I think we're getting an alert that we've shot past time. Can we have this offline?
Give me 30 seconds.
Okay,
please,
30 seconds.
This is a very, very important thing he touched upon. Thank you very much for knowing that there's a digitization of those papers, right? At the end of it, people take those and print, right? That's number one. Number two is I'm talking about productivity and quality. Productivity. How do I read that 21,000 page? Why can't I take the AI help, right? If you read the case study of Naran Hidalai, so you'll see them, in Manipal Foundation, you'll see that a doctor reads 5,000 journals on cancer in few seconds to help to assist a patient, right? Because it can do so, right? AI has the capability of reading 5,000 journals in a second. So what I'm trying to say is that while doing a PDF is great, first step. Second step is we are 10-year, that technology you're talking about, it is 10-year-old. The technology which are coming in is AI, which are coming about NLP, is coming about some other technologies as well. We'll not go into that direction, but I think adopt next gen technology to help people voice over. It's like Alexa, tell me what is the water cement ratio in the GSB for a particular road. That's what we want. Thank you very much.
So I don't think you had another 10 seconds, 30 seconds available. If you have use standards. Today, ASTM are available in hard copy. Indian standards are not available in hard copy. NFPA is available in hard copy. People purchase specifically hard copy maintained rather than every time. It's for them. They have soft copy. It doesn't mean that if they have soft copy, they don't purchase. They purchase hard copies also. And they flag it, they mark it, they keep it. That is for them. I think this is what is relevant is that we use, apply, implement, save lives from fire, have good quality of environment, which is more important. So I think with that I rest my case.
No, there is a debate to both. I think one thing that comes out very clearly, and I think somebody mentioned this during today's discussion, is that our next generation has a very different learning style, and they learn more through, like Sudeep said, on things that are available on a small screen interface rather than pour through a lot. But there is definitely, as you said, the rigor that is required for standards that will go if you, or the understanding of that, the feel for that will go. There's a long debate that we can have on this. It's been an enthralling, extremely enlightening discussion today. Unfortunately, we only have so much time. And what normally I do is I don't stay in many WhatsApp groups, but I would request each of the panel members on this to continue in this WhatsApp group. I think there are a lot of things that we have all mentioned that we'd like to synchronize on when we carry initiatives forward. I would really welcome your thoughts and suggestions on this group, and we will then reach out to bringing in others in on this forum. I believe strongly in communities of practice. I have always espoused this, and even my current startup is something like that, on something like a community of practice for innovation and disruption. So it would be great to stay in touch. I think we've had several flags, several questions, which we will try to have QCI send out to the relevant experts and respond to the people who ask the questions. I would like to thank, on behalf of all the panelists, QCI and DPIIT, for inviting us for this very, very enriching seminar or webinar on Udyog Manthan for the construction and engineering services industry. Over to QCI for the closing formalities of this session.
Good evening, everybody. On behalf of QCI, I would like to thank Mr. Iyer for moderating the session and all the esteemed panelists for sharing the.
Actually, I think you went to mute.
Yes, sir. Somebody just muted. So I would like to thank everybody, the panelists and the moderator, for giving their insights and perspectives towards the construction and related engineering services. We realized from this discussion that the said industry has a lot of potential for improvement in the areas of infrastructure development, reduction in import dependency, and pushing the Indian mindset towards indigenization and incorporation of digital measures with the hope of attaining the goal of Atmanirbhar Bharat. A change in mindset and adoption of futuristic approaches to deliver sustainable products in a post-COVID world needs to be the priority as we proceed further. All the recommendations shared today will greatly contribute towards the preparation of the compendium that will be shared after the conclusion of the webinar series. We are grateful to all the attendees for being part of today's session and making it so enriching. I now declare the meeting closed. Thank you all for being part of this meeting today.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sriram.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure being an acquaintance with everyone.
Sudeep, you have to join next one.